All right, RPS Lite is a panel programming software for system owners with Bosch Intrusion panels. RPS Lite can be used to perform user programming tasks, account storage, and troubleshooting panel issues. RPS Lite operators can change, add, or delete end-user information such as passcodes, cards, key fobs, user windows, and schedules easily to better suit their needs. Today we'll be focusing on configuring your panel with RPS Lite, and we'll be exploring additional features the software offers. We'll begin with RPS Lite. We're going to be going over the overview and then the configuration. We'll begin by opening the software and logging in using our username and password. This will take us to the main RPS Lite page where we can see our panel list when it opens up. Here's where we would use the default password and username. Okay, so this is the main page where we can see our panel list. If you had additional panels, they would come below this one that I have already set up. But under this little drop-down menu, you can see your history list, your operators, templates, activities, your time windows. But the main thing that we'll be looking at is the panel list for right now. So the paper with the plus sign is where we would go to create a new panel program. It's up to you if you'd like to create a new panel program or if you'd like to use an already existing one that you possibly had sent to you or if you've had it stored on your computer before. For today, though, I'll just be using this demo program that I already came up with a little bit ago. But if you were to do a new panel, this is where you could select the panel type that you have. And then after selecting the panel type, you would press OK. And then it will offer you the opportunity to add additional information like the address, the time zone that you'll be using, your data lock preference, and all of that kind of stuff. For now, though, we're going to go back to my other panel that we had created already, just for demo purposes. If you'd like to import a different panel program, though, you could always go to File, Import, and then select the file that you'd like to import to use as your panel program. So for now, we're going to look at the top of the screen. We're going to double click on that panel program, and it will take us to the main page for programming. On the left, you'll see the programming options for RPS Lite for this panel program. I like having everything on the left, but if you'd like the classic view, it'll explain the panel items a little bit better that way. I'm going to uncheck it though, just because that's my preference. You'll see some new icons that we hadn't seen on that main page, and the main one that we're going to be going to right now is to connect to our panel. So we're going to find the connect icon that looks like two plugins meeting, and we're going to double click that. So before we can do anything else, though, we're going to need some equipment depending on the type of connection that you'd like to make. So today I'm going to be using my powered up B-series panel and connecting it to RPS Lite using USB cord connection. So I have a USB cord that I've plugged into my B-series panel, and then I've also plugged it into a port on my own computer. And then if you need a security dongle or if your panel requires it, you would plug it in at this time too if you're going to make that USB connection. In addition to that, if your panel has not been connected to RPS Lite before, you will need the cloud code. So this is a unique code that comes on all panels. They're all unique, so you'll look for it. It's a 6 or 7 letter, all capital letters usually, passcode that's unique to your panel that you'll need to make that initial connection. So you'll put that where RPS passcode goes, and then you'll press connect. But if you've connected to the panel before, you can just use the RPS default passcode, which is 6 9s, so 999999. You can always go in and change the RPS passcode, though, as needed to suit your preference. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my panel. And a pop-up will appear. So each time you connect to the panel, RPS Lite will detect any differences between RPS Lite and the panel itself. So if you would like RPS to receive the programming that you already have in your panel, you can select the receive option. If you would like to update your panel with any new changes, you'll want to send your information. However, for already programmed panels, the process will typically go receive information from already programmed panel, make your changes and save them, and then send the changes once you're done. So if you're unsure which option to select, you can always select See Data Differences. And this selection will compare the two and display any differences that they find in RPS and your panel. So this might help you make your decision. As we can see, the only difference for our panel and our RPS Lite program is user 1 passcode. So I'm just going to send and overwrite the panel. It's also good to note that if you intend to program or alter features on RPS Lite that you would like to be updated on the panel, you'll want to continuously use this Save button to save the changes. But to communicate the changes to your panel, saving them will save them in RPS, but to communicate to the panel, there's another icon that appeared now that we've connected. It's kind of like a crisscross. It's the Send Receive icon, and this will exchange and send the updated programming to your panel as you're connected. So now that we've connected to the panel, you should see a few additional icons on the RPS toolbar. These are features that you'll only be able to access when your panel is connected to the software. So you might want to be able to view your account notes. That's what this icon would do. It'll open up anything that you need to note for your panel. You can add just about anything. It's for installers and programmers to know a little bit more about the panel itself. Other than account notes, you can always get a log of your history. So this is everything that has been done on my panel, but to get that you would just go to Get History, and then you can select if you want the current events or all events. Hit OK, and it will retrieve all of your events that you've done recently. In addition to that, a few other things to note. When you're in user assignments, the installer code comes pre-programmed as 123, but that also works for any keypads that you have programmed. So if you go into keypad 123 enter, you'll be able to alter things as if you were an installer and access information about the panel as if you were an installer. If you would like to deter people from using 123 as the passcode and being able to access your panel or your information about your panel, always make sure to change that passcode after you've gotten into it and programmed whatever you need, just so that people aren't able to access information about your panel or your keypads without your permission. Other than that, to the authority levels that we mentioned earlier, 1, 2, 5, those authority levels can be customized with your programmer when they're doing that initial install of your panel. You'll see a new wrench. We're going to be going into diagnostics a little bit later. In addition to that, there's a firmware wizard that you can use to update your firmware on your panel. So it should be noted that this firmware wizard icon will take you right through the process of any firmware updates that you'd like to make while you're connected, but it should be noted too that your firmware updates should only be done when you have sufficient AC and backup power. So that will mean that your battery is charged and plugged in prior to the firmware update. You can complete this firmware update using any connection other than modem. It just is too slow and it won't work. But firmware updates also require all areas in the system to be disarmed before updating. So this can be done through RPS or your keypad. While a majority of panel programming can be completed via your Bosch keypads, RPS Lite offers programming options for the convenience of the user. So one example of programming you might want to complete on RPS Lite is the managing, adding, and deleting of users. While a majority of panel programming can be completed via your Bosch keypads, RPS Lite offers programming options for the convenience of the user. One example of programming you may want to complete on RPS Lite is the adding, managing, and deleting of users. We'll start by locating our user configuration menu. From there, you're going to be going to user assignments. To add a new user, I would go to my list of users and find where it says username. So the username is the name that would be tied to that specific user and can be customized for the person or the role that they fill. For example, if I wanted to add a new user that is a stockroom employee, I could name them stockroom employee and then save my work. There we go. And then I would save any updates. If there are additional options that you'd like to customize for the user, you would do it at this time, and we'll go over some of those additional options now. So in addition to a user needing a username, they will also need a passcode for keypad use. So two users cannot have the same passcode, so you will need a separate, unique passcode for each user. I can assign a new user their passcode under the passcode column. This can be a 3 to 6 digit passcode number using any numbers 0 through 9. For the stockroom employee example, I could give them a passcode of 555. So you double click, and then under data value, you would put the desired passcode. Press OK, and then you can save the additional information. And that's all that you need for creating a password for them. So passcodes can be changed for users as well after you've already put them in the system. So if you'd like to change a passcode, just double click the entry and then delete the existing passcode. You can enter the desired new passcode and then save your changes. So just like passcodes too, if I wanted to change it to 423 instead, you could just go in and save it. So just like passcodes as well, you can alter the usernames that you assign to users. So to change a user's name, you can just double click the entry that you'd like to change and then enter the new username that you would like. After that, press OK, and then you can save the changes and the information will be updated on RPS. Modifying authority levels for existing users is an option as well using RPS Lite. If you'd like to change the existing assigned authority level, just double click on the authority level to see the current selection. So if I wanted to see what the clerk's authority level is, I see that it's 5. I can double click it, it'll display that 5, and then I can select the authority level option that I would like to assign to the user if I'd like to change it, and then I could save my changes after that. So for this example, I would give them whatever authority level I would like to change it to. I just changed them to 3. In addition to this, if your users are going to be using access control credentials such as cards, the information can be added using RPS Lite right here in this menu. To put in card data for your user, you're going to locate your card first and find the string of digits on the bottom right of the card. You'll see a site code, which will be the first 3 digits. Where you would want to put that in is for the user that you'd like to assign the card credential. So if I would like to do user 5 for this example, I would locate where it says site code, double click, and then I would put in the number. So my site code for my example card that I have here is 255. You can select OK. Oh, it says it's an invalid code. We'll try again. I have a different card that I can put in. There we go. That's a valid site code. And then I would put in the card data, the last 5 numbers on that card. It could be something like 26502, for example. Your card will have its own unique information as well. Once you're done adding that site code and the card data from your card, simply save at the bottom right, and then it should be assigned to that user after that. If you'd like to modify card data, simply double click the site code, and it won't allow you to have nothing in this area, so you can put 0 for the data value. You should be able to. And then for the card data, you can put 0 as well. This deletes the card information that you previously had for the user once you've saved it. And then the card no longer is assigned to that user because it doesn't have the information under their user information. In addition to these cards, you can also have wireless key fobs that you program using this user assignments menu. So you can put in that information here as well. So to begin, if you're using a Radeon key fob, you would want to locate your Radeon key fob. And you're going to find something called the RFID, which is printed on the device, or you might get a sticker provided with the device. So the RFID is your radio frequency device identification number, and it's unique to the key fob that you'll be assigning to your user. So you're going to locate for the user that you'd like to add the key fob to. For this example, I might want to have user 3 to have a RFID. So I would go to where it says Radeon key. It's cut off. If you want to read the rest of the menu option, you can expand it a little bit. but this is going to say Radeon key fob RFID, and the B810 is the wireless receiver that it connects to. So you are going to take your Radeon key fob and you want to put in that number that it says RFID on the device. So you can put in the information here under data value, put in the number that it gives you, and then press OK. I just used an example number, but typically it would have an RFID that would be successful. I'll do a different example. Once you're done putting in your RFID, simply save it, and then the information will be assigned to the user that you put it in for. If you would like to modify their key fob access, or if you would like to remove a key fob from the user, you can simply double-click on the Radeon key fob for that user, and then set that data value to 0 to delete the information. You can press OK, and then save your changes. This will disable the user's key fob too. An additional option when you're managing your users in this main menu is altering their language settings. So if we were in the RFID, if you keep going to the right, you'll see all of the user languages that you can customize for your users. So for the users that we already have, they have their user language selections here that you can double click to view. And then you can alter the options from here if you'd like to modify their language setting. So if I would like to assign this employee to have their user language displayed in Spanish for their keypad entries, I would press OK. And then now their main user language after I've saved it would be Spanish when they go to the keypad. The only other thing that we will be going over is if you'd like to delete a user from the system. So you can start by going all the way over to where you can see your user names. If you'd like to delete the user, just delete their username, passcode, other selections, and then save at the bottom right. So if I no longer want the stockroom employee to be in the system, I can simply delete their information, remove their passcode from their user, and then remove any customizations that I might have made. And once I've saved the changes, it will update, so the user will no longer be in the system. And then I can rename and modify that user in the future if I'd like to use it for another purpose. As always with programming in RPS Lite 2, to ensure that your changes are saved and the panel is updated with the current information, in addition to saving at the bottom right, always make sure to send the updated user information to the panel that you're connected to. So now that we've customized our user assignments, we can explore adding schedules or panel events and user group windows. So we'll start by selecting our schedules menu, and then there are submenus below. You'll see Sched, which is short for schedules, and then Sched descriptions will be the area that you can add or edit the name of the schedules that you'd like to customize. So a main reason for using Scheds would be if you need your panel to do something at a specific time or date. This could be a test report daily at 7 a.m. or arming the system at 10 p.m. each day. As you can see, I have a few examples, a daily test report and a dumpster light on that occurs at a specific time each day. But for Sched 3, I'll show what it would look like if I wanted to program an all-on instant in all areas of my panel to occur each day at 10 p.m. So I'm just going to start by naming it daily all on arm, and then I'll select OK. After this, I would go to Scheds 1 through 5, where I can customize when and how I would like this schedule to occur. So I'll locate Sched 3, and you'll see time edit. Having a yes, that just explains that users can edit the time of the Sched from the keypad. Below that, though, is the most important thing. I want to select a function. So this is going to be where you select the panel event that you're trying to schedule. And it displays all of the options. I'm going to select all on instant, and then I'm going to do that in all of my areas because I want it to be across all of the areas that I have programmed. And then below that, it's going to say time. So for the time selection, I need to uncheck this disable to be able to edit the clock. And then for my time, I'm going to put 2200 in because we use a 24-hour clock when it comes to the time input. I would like this to occur daily, so I'm going to set all of the days of the week to yes. You can customize it to be whatever you would like. Some schedules, though, you might want to alter for holidays, so that except on holiday selection over here, that's just referencing if you would like the schedule to abide by the holiday dates that you select in holiday indexes, which is a little bit below. But since this is a daily occurrence I'm trying to schedule, I'll just leave the holiday selections at no for now. If you go to the holiday indexes, though, you'll see that you're able to select the dates from a calendar that you would like to leave out of your schedule. And you can do specific dates based on your needs. Okay, the final aspect of scheduling on RPS Lite is going to be under the user group windows. So this relates to our user configuration that we did a little bit earlier when we added that stockroom employee. So you will want to select this and then it'll open up our user group windows. We have 4 windows for right now. This is where you can customize your user group so that they have the ability to use their passcode successfully on the keypad at certain times. So if you have employees that are only day employees that you don't want to have access to your store at night, or if you have a night crew that comes in that would not need to have keypad ability during the day, this is a great way to customize it based on what you want their passcode to be able to do and when. So for user group window 1, you'll see that I've selected yes for all of the weekdays, but I've left the weekends set to no. So this could be for weekday employees. Let's say your shop is closed on the weekend. This could be what you just use for your everyday weekday employees. Right underneath that, you'll see something called the group enable time. And then this is where you would like to set their time for their credentials to function. So if you would like them to be able to perform whatever actions they have authority for during a certain time of the day, that will be the enable and disable time of when they're allowed to use those passcodes. So it runs on a 24-hour clock just like the other schedules. So the enable time that I set up for user 1 was for their passcodes to work at 8 a.m. and then they won't work anytime after 6 p.m. You can also customize holidays here as well. If you have an abnormal date in the year that you would like the user group's passcodes to work on, this is where you can customize that as well. For user 2, I've selected their schedule so that they have access throughout the entire day, but only on the days that the shop is open during weekdays. So a great use of user groups in RPS Lite too could be to limit the time window that a night cleaning crew is able to use their passcode or something like that. It's really customizable, but if you would like to customize your user group windows, make sure to go back to user assignments, and then under user group, you can assign the user group that you would like them to abide by. So for janitor, cleaning staff, if I set up that night access, that's where I could put in that user group number. Okay, so I'm going to save any changes that I made at this time, and then I am going to show some additional features of RPS Lite. So while you're logged into RPS Lite, you'll have the ability to make changes to your panel without the use of a keypad. This includes force arming and disarming specific areas or all areas from RPS Lite. To do this, we're going to need to open up RPS Lite, and we're going to select the wrench icon at the top to go to diagnostics. This is where you'll be able to see all of the devices you have programmed, the state of your areas, the status of your points, pretty much everything you need to know about your panel. If you click on diagnostics and there's a red highlighted word somewhere, so it could be keypads, octo input, whatever, that means that the device has some sort of trouble or it isn't addressed correctly. So this is a great way for installers to ensure all of their devices are working together with the panel program in a way that will benefit you. This is a great area to remotely alter the state of an area or bypass points as well. So because I'm using a B-Series panel with only a keypad hooked up to it just for the demo purpose, your diagnostics page will have plenty more information about the devices that you've installed and programmed to your panel. But to see information about your panel, we'll click on this panel, we're already here, but it'll show a little bit about your panel. So it'll show what kind of panel you have, the firmware that it's using, and then you can select the panel submenu, and it'll show you the current date and time that your panel's using. So if you wanted to update that, if something gets off and you want your panel to reflect that new time, that's a great way to update it. Okay. It'll also tell you here too if you have sufficient AC power, if your battery is plugged in. Mine is missing. I have not plugged in my backup battery. And it'll also tell you the state of your SDI2 bus. So if there's a failure on the SDI2 bus and your devices aren't working, that will help you know why exactly they're not working, and it's because of the bus. But if you would like to see anything else, this basically just tells you kind of about the health of your connected panel. But if you would like to see the state of your areas on your panel, you would want to go to Area, and then it'll show you the current state. So if there are any troubles, it should usually show them right here. But you'll notice that the areas that I have programmed right now, just 1 and 2, are in the disarmed state. So if I would like to change that, and let's say I would like to arm the system or arm that specific area, I would just double click and select the state that I would like it to go to. So if I had 4 areas, I want to arm all of them. So once you've double clicked and made the selection of the state that you would like to change the area to, you would want to send the changes to your panel. As you can hear, my keypad registers the change, and it's signaling to me that the state of the areas have been altered, so it's updated on the panel now. To disarm, though, I would do the same. You can just double click and change the state of your area that you would like to change. And then always make sure to send the changes to the panel so that your panel and keypads are updated as well. This feature is great if you ever have faulted points that you need to force arm around. This is great for installers that want to have that ability to do maybe what your passcode can't in the keypad. But if you want to look at the individual points, this is where you would go, right underneath areas. It would have all of your information, the name of your points, the source, the area that they're located in, the condition of the point, if they've been bypassed, and then the service bypass is probably the biggest feature that you would use while you're in diagnostics. This is where you can, bypass a point using RPS, and then you would have to unbypass it. But if a point is unbypassable programmed through the keypad, this is where you could go around that through RPS Lite and kind of do it by force rather than with the rights of the keypad. But yes, this is a great tool, and you can use it to kind of figure out anything that you're having trouble with as far as why your panel might not be responding the way that you think it should. So now that we've learned a little bit more about diagnostics, we're going to look at access control using RPS Lite. Similar to the RPS software, RPS Lite offers access control features for users of the panel. In the user configuration menu, you'll find the user assignments menu, and that's where we're going to want to go to kind of edit our access control rights. Here we are at user configuration, and we're going to go back to that user assignments page where we programmed our stockroom employee username earlier. So we're going to be focusing on where you can put in your card information or wireless key fob ID numbers for individual users. This is if you have a reader connected for access control. It's essentially keyless entry, but I'm just going to use my stockroom employee user for this example. So as I go to the right, if you want to view the information a little bit, you can always move the menus so you can read a little bit further. But I'm going to go to my user 5 and just tab over to where it says site code and card data. So if you have a card credential, you're going to find a string of digits on the bottom right of the card. So the site code will be the first 3 digits. So I'm going to just put in 129. That's the first 3 of my card. And then the remaining 5 numbers are going to go in your card data. So that's whatever the individual 5 numbers that are after the site code on that white card. If I had a Radeon key fob that I would like to put in for this user as well, you can find the RFID and put that in at this time as well if you have other wireless devices you'd like to add. So looking at the credential card, you have your site code, the first 3 digits, and then the card data would be the remaining 5 digits after the comma. So for mine right now, I would want to put in 47859. That's the unique card information for this one. So after I've put in my site code and my card data from the card, I would want to communicate that with the panel so that it registers it. But you have to save before you communicate. So I'm going to save my information, and then I would crisscross to send to the panel. And after you've saved and sent the card information, your card should be active in the card reader and it'll work as an access credential. Aside from mainly diagnostics, there are plenty of ways to better understand what's happening with your panel program and your Bosch Intrusion devices using RPS Lite. My personal favorite feature has been a lifesaver to better understand what exactly I'm asking my panel to do. So going in RPS Lite, if you're looking at something in RPS Lite that just doesn't make sense, pressing the F1 key on your keyboard will activate a pop-up help menu. So for example, if I'm struggling to understand what exactly a sched function would do, and I'm in sched functions, I can press the function 1 key, and it will give information about what each choice is describing that you can eventually click on. This can be used anywhere in RPS Lite as well if you're having issues understanding what to do or where to go. It's also a great tool to just better understand the terminology Bosch uses and what it means for your panel program. So if you're unfamiliar with what the difference is between part on and all on being the full system, part on meaning the perimeter, if you click on it, it will explain exactly what they're talking about when they use part on delay. An additional feature that I mentioned earlier was the view of RPS Lite. So if you'd like to eliminate color, you can uncheck the color box, and then all of the RPS Lite information will be just black and white, or blue and white in this case. You can also use the pivot, and that will rotate the information to be a different column style. Finally, the account notes, we discussed this a little bit earlier, but this is a great tool to record what work has been done on the panel or where things are located as far as devices go. A lot of people think that the keypad is the panel itself, and while it can do a lot of stuff as far as programming goes, it's really important to put in the account notes where your keypads are located or where your other devices are going to be installed. That way people know exactly where they need to find these things if they need to service them. Contacts, manager names, and additional notes can all be stored here. So basically the panel will have an updated list of what the installer or programmer has done so far on the panel program. If you have keypads that are addressed differently or you are forgetting the address, they will, noting it in the account notes will help you kind of understand it a little bit better. RPS Lite is a panel programming software for system owners with Bosch Intrusion panels. It allows you to change, add, or delete end-user information such as passcodes, cards, key fobs, user windows, and schedules easily to better suit your needs. If you need additional support, you can always go to the Bosch Tech Support app or contact Bosch Tech Support. You can subscribe to the Bosch Intrusion and Access page, which has videos featuring RPS Lite, or go to the webpage Bosch Security and Safety Community.